here on the Bleav in Astros podcast. It's a Friday, just past lunch. We're going to talk about injuries today. I could talk about my own. Had physical therapy today to deal with my posterior. What is this? What is this muscle back there?
Is that your
Apparently,
deltoid?
yeah, I have
Deltoid.
I have a strained posterior delt.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I
So
had
that's the big muscle on the outside. That's
it's
not,
back
there's
here.
the rotator cuff and all that
Yep.
kind of stuff on the inside.
And the only time it doesn't really hurt that much except when I go to shoot baskets, which is frequently. And so that's
It
kind
only
of
hurts when
annoying.
I breathe. Other than that, I'm good.
Exactly. So it's really, we're coming down to the wire here.
Yeah.
About a little over a month left in the season. The Astros and now a tight AL West division race. They face the Orioles this weekend. I'm going to the game tonight. First one I've
Okay.
been to in about a month. So looking forward to that. Little
Not a
Friday night
great
fireworks.
Orioles team, but
No.
I always say, what is it? It's not who you play, it's when you play them. And the Orioles
Right.
have played better as of late, and they still have talent. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it's one thing just to be a bad team and have a bad
Mhm.
record, but there are times that you can have a very talented team with a bad record. And the Orioles, you remember it was all put together by Mike Elias.
Yep.
And you thought that they were going to be there for the long haul because
Yeah,
he
they seem
built
like a
it from
breakthrough
within.
team. Yeah.
And listen, they can. That doesn't mean they can't turn it around next year, and it doesn't mean they can't turn it around this year. So you better,
Right.
buckle your chin strap. They still have some good players.
Yeah, it's and thanks to them for beating the Mariners 2 out of 3
Right?
in the last most recently. So appreciate that. Now the Mariners are at the Mets. The Mets have been an absolute dumpster fire as of late. So
Yeah.
hopefully they will get their act together now. Would be nice. I'm also wearing my Space Cowboys hat because Lance McCullers Jr. will be on the mound for the Space
Right.
Cowboys in
Right.
Sugarland tonight as a rehab start. I want to
It
start.
seems like about half the pitchers that are on the Astros roster have pitched for the Space Cowboys
Yeah,
this year.
let's talk a little bit about that. So we've got Christian Javier back. He pitched pretty well in his
He
first back. He'll pitch again this weekend. I think on Sunday is when he goes. And then on top of that, Luis Garcia is just had his 5th outing. I think rehab start. Looked very good. 6 strikeouts. I think 1 walk. It's pitched through 77 innings. The big thing they've been talking about with him has been his velocity, but he got up to just under 95 miles an hour, I think, last night when he pitched. So I was curious to ask you this as a former pitcher, when you're looking at a guy who's rounding into shape, whether it's back from injury or spring training or whatever it is, I know that there are some key sort of metrics that they're looking at. And obviously velocity is one of those. How do they make those kinds of decisions? Like what goes into that decision-making process about what makes a guy ready for the majors?
Part of it is, for me, it's not necessarily just velocity. That has something to do with it because a lot of times velocity shows health. But what have you heard me say countless times? Pitching is like real estate. It's location, location, location.
Right.
And what has Luis Garcia always been able to do? It's not really been about the fastball velocity. It's always about commanding the breaking balls and how do the breaking balls look. So it's a culmination of everything, combination of all kinds of different things you're looking at. It's not just a situation. Because listen, there have been guys have Tommy John surgery where their velocity never dropped. But they just lost command of the ball. They don't know where the ball's going. They don't have a feel. And it ends up having some kind of problem in your elbow. And okay, there you go. So it's there's not one number. And, Louis has never really been a huge velocity guy anyways.
Right.
We have seen him 96, 97.
Occasionally.
That's not where he pitches. He pitches in the mid, low to mid 90s. But it's about the multiple breaking balls and being able to spin them whenever he wants.
Well, and apparently he's been all over the strike zone. I saw the numbers last night. He threw 77 pitches, 52 for strikes. So he's not out there walking people, which is good. Something that Astros, I'm sure, would like to see from Spencer Getty in his next start.
Right.
But, and so while we're talking about the pitching, we should just mention Josh Hader getting a second opinion on his sore shoulder. Second opinions are never good. It always seems to be a bad thing.
You don't feel good about the injury, you don't feel good about the first opinion and go get a second opinion.
Right.
Okay. And I'm speaking from experience because I had to do this a long time ago in 1990 with my shoulder, my left shoulder.
Mhm.
It was just, it wasn't acting right. I had rehabbed. And actually, the crazy thing is, Dr. Joe Chandler, who was the team physician, had been around the Atlanta organization forever and ever and ever. He's actually the one that sent me out to go see
Oh.
Dr. Yoakum, who was part of the Job group out in California. So he sent me from Atlanta out to California to see Dr. Yoakum. And the next step was going to be arthroscopic surgery, anyways. But he wanted the second opinion, and yeah. But so yeah, the second opinion isn't. You don't usually get second opinions if you feel really good about the first one.
Yeah, it's not a good look. Now, I will say on the positive side for the Astros, from just a closer standpoint, they're probably okay because if you watched any of the game the other night when Brian Abreu came in
Mhm.
and pitched, he touched 100, 101 a couple of times.
He was a little fired up.
Yeah, well, I also I think a little pissed because he let a couple of guys get on base early. I think he
He's
got a
been
little
that way.
mad.
He is
Yeah.
not a guy that, he's not a 3 up, 3 down guy.
No, he's not.
There's a lot of times he gives them a chance. There
Yeah.
are ducks on the pond, but
Yes.
most of the time he still gets out of it. And a lot of it, it's not the velocity; it's about the slider.
It's
Well,
about
actually,
slider.
it's a combination of the velocity and then the slider also.
Right.
So,
That's
uh,
exactly right, because
but
he
I
can
agree.
really
I think
locate.
to tell you the truth, I think that he was the heir apparent to the closer's role before they got Josh Hader. Anyways,
Agreed.
that's
Agreed.
that has been his trajectory on his career, the whole time was that he's ultimately going to be a closer. Where it does hurt the Astros is in not in the ninth inning, it's in
Right.
the and not even maybe the eighth inning. It's in the
Right.
seventh inning or the sixth inning because now it does take away from your depth and your options
Right.
earlier in the game.
It's
And
that domino effect.
a lot of times in the games are not decided in the eighth and ninth inning. Sometimes the
No.
games are decided in the sixth inning.
Yeah, that's 100% right. And like right now, I think the Astros trust Bennett Sousa maybe more than
He's looked
anybody
good.
else.
His
He's
slider
looked
has been good.
he's
Yeah.
looked really, really good.
And
Obviously,
it's not going. Here's how it does.
yeah.
Astros have been a little bit. Astro fans have been a little bit spoiled that you
Mhm.
had a ninth inning guy, you had an eighth inning guy.
Right.
Even last year when you still had Presley, now you had a seventh. That's not usually how it works.
No, it's
How
not.
it you usually have a ninth inning guy, and then everybody else is just whatever the phone rings. And how does this work? And I've been in multiple bullpens that you've kind of had bullpen by committee. You've had a lot of different things. Whoever's pitching well is going to pitch.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Especially when you get now we're in the dog days of August, and now we're also the September. The run is right around the corner.
Yes.
We're not looking at the marathon anymore. Now it's more of a sprint.
Right.
So, whoever's pitching well, that's who I'm putting in to get games out. And to tell you the truth, that it really doesn't even mean it doesn't matter left-handed or right-handed.
No,
If
it
you're throwing
doesn't.
the ball well and you're getting positive results, then you're in the game.
I think what's interesting about it to me is that, I think if you're an Astros fan and have been for a while, I mean, if for you, it probably goes all the way back to Dotel Lidge Wagner, right? When there was this ultimate sort of 7, 8, 9
Yeah.
shutdown crew. And I think the Astros have always had, they've always leaned on their bullpen as a strength, especially in late innings. And so I think there is some of that. We had for Ryan, like we had Presley and Abreu and Hader and all these different
Yeah.
guys. I think, yeah, that's true. Now, having said all that, Steven Okert's been very good as of late as
Mhm.
well. Brian King remains a very solid
He's been
option.
solid. There's been some hiccups,
Right.
but early in the season, he might have been more dominant than just about
Yes.
anybody in the league.
Yeah, that's right.
There
And
have
I
been some
think
long balls, but that's, hey, listen, you put the ball in the strike zone, eventually somebody's going to hit it.
that's exactly right. So the big question is now going to be what the Astros are going to do as they start getting all these players back. How are they going to begin to sort out what's going to be part of their starting rotation. Listen, let's just start here. Jason Alexander has pitched phenomenally over the last 3 starts. Let's say 2 especially. But this is a journeyman you got from the A's. He is not, one of your primary guys. But if he like to your point, if he continues to pitch well, because they have to put him out there at the moment, they don't have enough pitchers to just sort of, thanks for the help. This is one of those situations where, and this was brought up, Ross Villarreal, who's a co-host on the Matt Thomas show in the afternoons on 790. I heard him talk about this the other day. I thought it was a really smart point. He said that while we're all concerned about how are we going to shape up this rotation and this bullpen when we get to the playoffs, they still have to get to the playoffs.
You're right.
This is a tight race, and they're going to be putting guys out there who aren't 100% yet. A lot of these guys are in spring training, right?
Oh, no doubt. Getty, I mean, you talk about. You talk about. We started off talking about how good Luis Garcia looked. Mm-hmm. And he's had 5 outings. You go, man, that's a lot of outings. But listen, you got to remember the first outing was an inning. That's right. The second outing was maybe 2 innings. I don't know exactly, but that's how it works. Night. And when you're but still, if in spring training, by the time you get to 5 starts, you're ready for the season to start.
Right.
He's not still quite there because he only went 4 innings. He threw 75 pitches, whatever it was, which is close. Yeah. He's just, he's probably just 1 or 2 away from going ahead and having a regular, I don't want to say unlimited, but 100-pitch start. So he's still building up because it's not just spring training. He's coming back from injury and it's spring training.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different. And, listen, they have a log jam. Potentially, they don't have one yet.
Not yet,
but there's potentially one right around the corner. And I'll tell you, countless general managers I've talked to over the years, they'll say something like, as soon as you think you have a problem with a log jam, something happens.
Right,
something happens. A lot of times, it works itself out. It's not something that you actually have to do. So it's you want to address the problem as much as you can before the problem gets there.
Right.
But there's not a whole heck of a lot you can do until you actually, get all these guys back. And now we have to start making roster moves.
Well, and you have to start thinking about, because some of these guys, you're just going to need to pitch them and see what happens. We don't know.
Well, the good thing that they have going for them is we are not in a day and age in Major League Baseball that we're on you go all the way back to the 70s, a 4-man rotation. Then for years and for decades and decades, it was a 5-man rotation.
Now it can be 6.
Now it's 6. Now it can be 7. Now it can be whatever you want it to be. And there's not any stigma that goes with it. It used to be, just a few years ago, you talk about a 6-man rotation. Oh my gosh, that is, that's hiatus. That is not, that's sacrilege. You can't talk about a 6-man rotation. Now everybody does it. Everybody does it. And with the way their arms are, that might not be a bad idea. Having not just 6, but a little spot start here or there. But having those options is something. Now, can you just fill it up with? No, you can't, because every arm that you put into the rotation, you're taking away from the bullpen.
Right.
So somebody is probably going to have to go down and pitch in AAA for a little bit. Is it a good situation to have these guys coming back? Yes, it's a good problem, but it's still a problem. You still have to figure something out. You still only have, 13 or 14 pitchers on a roster.
Well, and it's made more complicated right now for the Astros in that they have 10 straight in a row. Then they get a day off. Then they've got 13 straight. So it's not as if they're going to, they're not going to be able to run these guys through a 4-man rotation, get everybody back up to speed really quickly. Right. It's going to take a little bit of time. And so that's why I think, we say this, and we've got 6 weeks left essentially in the season, but they're going to have to make some decisions. First of all, let's assume for the moment, I mean, they're only 2 games out of the best record in the American League, right?
Yeah.
Conceivably, the Astros could wind up without having to play a wild card series. If they're one of the top 2 records in the AL.
Right.
But if they're not, then they're going to play a wild card series, which anything can happen, as we've seen in the past.
Well, I mean, you got to like the way the rotation sets up when you have 2 guys at the top, like like Hunter and Frommer. I mean,
Right.
you have two guys that, you know what, give them a run. We've seen it. The dudes can just flat out deal.
They
And
can.
that makes the Astros scary, even though this is still a questionable offense at times.
Yeah.
Your rotation, and then keep our fingers crossed about Josh Hader. That's what's put them in first place. Yeah, they
Yeah.
have definitely scored runs better, the last couple months than they did the first couple months. But this is still not a great offensive team.
No.
The reason they are where they are is because of the pitching staff and even
That's
the
key point.
diversity of guys that have had to go out there. I mean, you've had guys for the second year in a row proverbially come out of nowhere
Yes.
and be not just serviceable but be good. I mean, that's
Yeah,
where
come in.
Spencer again. Remember, he had no business being in the big leagues. And the crazy thing about him was he righted the ship in the big leagues. He didn't have to go back down to the
Right.
minor leagues. But why was he here? Because there was a necessity. He had no choice.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point, but I'll just go back to your talking about the offense. Listen, the offense has been better really for a couple of reasons. The first reason is that Christian Walker is actually hitting,
Yeah.
which is he that it
You can't
changes
look
the
at the numbers because he was bad for quite a while, and
no, but
he
if you
built up pretty big sample size.
yeah,
But I mean, he's got his OPS over 700 now, which you
right.
go, okay, well, that's kind of low. Yeah, but I mean, there was a point in the season he was in like the 400s. I
Yeah,
mean,
well that's
and it
because the
takes
last
time.
yeah,
Yeah,
the last 15 games he's hitting closer to 900 OPS.
right,
I mean, it's so he's been hitting, which is a big part of it. Jeremy Pena's back from his
right.
injury and he continues to be good. Jose Altuve continues to be consistent. You're getting quality at bats from a lot of guys, which is
Hmm.
helpful. There is a very decent chance that within the next 10 days or so, they're going to get Jake Myers back. Like,
Right.
I don't know if you saw him on the field, like running, but I mean, they were testing that calf pretty good. And I think that he's probably going to get a rehab start here somewhere. He could be back. And he was one of the team's best hitters. And then, of course, I'm not even going to get into Jordan, but the deal is this is a team.
We've been down that bridge, been over that bridge too many times. I'm
No,
not gonna say Jordan's
no,
gonna be back
nope.
until Jordan's back.
Right. And the truth is that when you look at this team offensively, this is a team that I think has you talk about this in all kinds of sports. This is a team that legitimately has the potential to get better before the postseason, not only because they're getting players back, but also
Sure.
because they're getting players adjusted. I mean, you've got Carlos Correa playing third base for the first time in his life and has
Yeah.
looked really good there. But I think the other thing too is that this is a team that's not going to be. We're not the team that we're seeing pitched go out tonight is not going to be the same team that we're going to see at the end of September. It's just going to be a different team,
It is.
one way or the other,
Yeah.
and that can be good or bad. When you add to it that the Astros have the easiest schedule going out of any team in baseball, they're about to face a really struggling Detroit Tigers team
Hmm.
who they could overtake in the standings. They have everything is set up for them to succeed. They're
Yeah.
the ones that have to go out and do it, but it's
But you
set up the
have
right way.
what you have to remember. There was, we were saying, "Oh, woe's the Astros" at the beginning of the season
Right.
because the schedule looked so difficult, and they played very well. So again, these are all still
Who knows?
major league teams. The
Yep.
Tigers are still a first place team.
Yep.
You can't overlook them. And AJ's going to have those boys. He's always is a little different attitude when he's playing the Astros. So
Of course there is.
he's going to
Wouldn't there
do
be?
everything he can. And listen, it's a talented team. I mean, you can't.
No.
Do you want to say they were over their skis early in the season? You can say
Hmm.
that, but listen, the record is the record. They've won
Yeah.
those baseball games.
Jeff Van Gundy, the former NBA
Hmm.
coach, used to say, you are what your record says you are.
Right.
And I think he got that from Bill Parcells. And it's true. If you cannot hide from it. And you can't hide from it in baseball,
Yeah.
where the truth is you play so many games, like you talked about small sample size. It's a huge sample size. At
Right.
some point when you look and you're like, okay, we're at 600, we're playing 600 baseball.
Hmm.
if you're doing that for 100 games, it's different than doing it for 20. And
Right.
so, so that means teams that are good are going to be good. I meant to talk to you about this too. This is something I came up with a friend of mine. Baseball is so fascinating because it's the one sport, I think, out of all of them where you can, with very few exceptions, at the beginning of the season, you can kind of size up a roster, you can kind of size up a team, and you can go, okay, I can't guarantee you they're going to be the best team in baseball or they're going to be the best in their division, but they're going to be in the hunt, right? You can pretty much maybe out of the top, say, 10 teams, you'll get 8 of them, right? And then there'll be like the Atlanta Braves, who we don't know what the hell happened, or Milwaukee Brewers, who are like suddenly really good.
Right.
But that's not really the same in other sports, particularly like football or something like that. You
See,
can't ever tell.
I think it's the other way around.
Do you really?
I think when you look at the NFL, you look at the NBA, I think it's easier to tell who's going to win on any given night.
Well, on any given night, yes. I'm just talking about the beginning of the season, projecting from the beginning of the season.
I mean, I think that we've all gotten pretty good at making predictions.
Yeah.
But I think baseball is, because it's all about starting pitching.
Well, yeah.
If you get a good starting pitcher, you get a young guy that throws strikes, that the other team hasn't seen before. Even if he only has average stuff, he could put up a whole bunch of zeros. And I think, you watch the NFL, and there's a lot of games every single weekend. You can just say, well, that team's going to win, that team's going to win, that team's going to win.
And then you're like, what?
And, just because of the nature of the sports. But baseball I think baseball is the one sport that is just so hard. It's so hard to predict.
Yeah.
And
ask the Pirates about having one great pitcher and not being good.
Well, yeah.
Lord.
But there are always exceptions.
Yes.
But even the Pirates. Oh, what did I say? I said it already in this podcast, that it's not who you play, it's when you play them. At some point, the Pirates get hot, and if you happen to have them on the schedule, they're going to. I mean, look at the Astros. The Astros have been swept a couple times by teams you're like, wait, what? But that's just the nature of the sport.
Yeah,
you can't just throw your hat out there and win baseball games.
Yeah, it's I feel like this, and getting back to this division race that against the Mariners, what I think is so interesting about this particular division is that it is one that where the Astros have continuously been good, and the Mariners and Rangers have always been predicted to be continuously good.
Right.
But they've been kind of up and down.
Dirty word in baseball. Yes.
Yeah. And so when you look at them, it's a fascinating.
And by the way, it's expectations. That's the dirty word.
That's a dirty word. Right. I'm surprised by how a team like Seattle, right? Who I have no hate for Seattle personally.
Right.
Although I do have a friend, former colleague of mine, who I like to rib because he's a huge Seattle guy. I have nothing against Seattle necessarily, but I always find it surprising to me that they are constantly the team you expect to be good.
Yeah.
And they really do struggle when they need to.
I think there's a couple things. And I think, to tell you the truth, the Mariners and the Astros really aren't all that different when you look at the way the two teams. They both pitched well. That's what put them in the race. They're not a great offensive team. I think the Astros are a little bit better offensively than Seattle is. But what has, before this last series, they were winners of 9 out of 10 and 8 in a row. That's what put them right on the heels of the Astros.
Yep.
But when you rely on pitching, 85% of the time, man, that is a lot of stress. That's a lot of stress on your pitching staff. And it's a lot. Listen, I've been on teams that, a starting pitcher goes out there and says, listen, I have to, if I give up 4 runs, I am losing. And that's just an incredible amount of stress on each pitch. And it's just not really able to do that. But yeah, I think also part of what has the expectations on the Mariners, the expectations on the Rangers, even this year, the Angels were looked
Mhm.
at as being better.
There was some talk, yeah.
I think part of it is also hatred of the Astros. I really
That's
do. I
just
really think that part of that, and I lived it in New York. Used to do the same thing with the Yankees. That
yeah.
this is the year that the Yankees fall apart. We'll see what
Well,
happens when we get to
I
September.
that's interesting though. The difference between I think the Yankees falling apart and the Astros is I think there might have been more criticism in New York of the Yankees perhaps falling
Well,
apart
I mean,
than
yes.
outside of
When
it.
you look at the media markets. I
Ooh,
mean,
they are
uh,
tough.
Brian McTaggart is the nicest guy on the freaking planet. I mean, you
Brian
can't.
McTaggart may as well be Elmo compared to
That's
like the
right.
journalists.
That's right. I mean, he's awesome. He's very good at what he does.
Yeah,
But this Astros team has gotten away over the years with having a pretty light media market.
that's Houston. I mean, the thing that's interesting to me about that's a really good point you make though about teams really hating on the Astros and is this the year there? I find it fascinating because people talk. I see that every year in the early season, or like in the before the spring training, and they're talking about the Astros are losing this and they're losing that. I'm like, yeah, but
It's
the thing
true.
is they are and they do lose. They did lose people and
Yeah.
whatever. But they also have they still have one of the better young pitching staffs in baseball. Not there's not a bunch of middle
Well,
30s
I
guys.
mean, I think what you look at, and it makes you scratch your head a little bit.
Mhm.
Is you look at even Major League Baseball, and you look at like the top 100. Well, the Astros don't have anybody in the top
They have
100, and then
one
they have
currently
yeah,
one.
and then they have guys come up, and all of a sudden they're at least serviceable, and you go, well, why
Right.
why aren't these guys? So I think that's why credit needs to be given to the not just scouting, but the player development side
For
of this
sure.
organization is that they have done a really nice job, especially on the pitching side, of
Yes.
getting guys ready to be called up and realize that, hey, listen, baseball hasn't changed. Whether you're pitching for the Space Cowboys, you're pitching for the Astros, you still got to take the ball, put the ball where you want to get dudes out. And
Yep.
the situation, the external situation, what's happening in the game, the stadium, the fans, that all changes. The game doesn't.
Yeah. Speaking of the fans, I'm going to be at the game tonight. And okay. So I'm just going to say this as a fan. I've heard this many people, the discussion of to wave or not to wave. And I'm only bringing this up because
Not wave. You're talking about the wave.
the wave,
The
the
wave.
wave.
Gotcha.
Now, I'm not a Scrooge. I went like I think I mentioned on here that I
Bah
went.
humbug.
Yeah, right. I went with my goddaughter a month or so ago. They want to do the wave. I'm not going to begrudge
Right.
my sweet little goddaughter any if she wants to do the wave, let her do the wave. It's fine.
Right.
However, I will say this. One of the real negatives about Houston sports fans, you mentioned Houston sports media
Hmm.
and the landscape of that. Fans are kind of the same in that know when to do the wave and when not to. That's all I'm saying.
Timing.
It's
Yes.
timing is
Hmm.
everything. And it's like if you're trying to start the wave in the 8th inning of a one-run game, stop yourself.
That's
End
right.
it.
That's right.
Just end it.
A blowout one way or another. You want to
Yes.
do the wave?
No.
Wave your rear ends off. That's
Do what you
just
want.
fine.
Blow up a
But in a
beach ball,
tight,
kick it
yeah,
around.
in a tight situation, yeah, let's pay attention to the game.
Yes. And that's all I'm saying. I'm telling people, I'm saying,
Yeah.
listen, man, I again, no, I have nothing against it except know your environment. That's all
That's
I'm
it.
saying.
That's it.
Know your
That's
surroundings.
right.
Be aware of what's happening around you. Don't be crazy.
Situational awareness. Absolutely.
Yes,
You
it's
have
the
to
same thing
know,
with it's the same thing with foul balls. Like keep your eye in the game because foul balls coming. You better be
well,
ready.
I mean, that got so bad that,
Oh,
you got screens down both lines now.
listen,
That's
the screen thing.
which,
I don't
which
blame them. I don't
I
blame them
don't
because some
listen.
of those
I have
zingers.
sat
Woo,
there and I just countless times seeing people get smoked or
yeah,
even more almost smoked and never
almost.
even
Yeah,
know something happened. So
right.
I don't disagree. Most of the time the balls still get thrown into the stands. That's fine. But yeah, you get
What's
some hot shots down each line and people
oh,
aren't paying
woo.
attention. You can ruin people's lives.
What is the worst? What is the worst you've ever been hit by a
Me
baseball?
personally,
Yeah,
I mean, I've never been hit in
you're
the head,
right. That's
been
good.
hit in the body. several times, more legs than anything else.
Yeah.
Uh, I did not have the most picturesque fielding position follow through when I was pitching. So, there were times that, I get hit in the back. Oh, where'd your back go? Yeah, that's just how I kind of follow through.
So you're Fromber-esque in your fielding capabilities.
Well, Fromber's a lot more square than me. I mean, there was a
Yeah.
lot of times I was actually going towards the right field line. I got hit. See if people can follow this. I got hit on the inside of my right thigh. Now, remember, I'm a left-handed pitcher. That's the leg that I
How did
stepped
you get
down the
hit on
hill.
the inside of your right leg?
Inside, just 2 rockets in the same year, twice in the same
Ooh.
year. Here's the thing. Oh my gosh, you got so much. You get so close to getting hit in the the Netherlands, and I have to tell him no, it really wasn't that close. And the reason why was because it was underneath my left leg. So I was standing on my right leg. My
Oh,
left leg had gone out and around
like
and
this.
over, and so I got hit underneath my left
Oh.
leg. So the family jewels were okay.
We're protected. Getting hit by a baseball is it's no fun.
There's sometimes you get hit and it hurts like crazy, like a hitter gets hit in the ribs.
Oh,
Those guys
God.
aren't
Oh.
laying down on the ground because it doesn't hurt. There's other times you get hit and you don't even really realize you got hit. I got hit one time in the shin. I was with Atlanta. A rocket right back to me hit me in my right shin, bounced straight to the third baseman, and it was a 1-5-3 put out. Innings over. I'm walking off the field, and I knew I got hit.
Right.
But I'm walking off the field, and then I look down about the time I get to the first baseline, and it looks like the ball is still on my shin. That's how quickly the swelling came up. And
that's
now,
nasty.
how did that feel for the next 2 weeks?
Not good.
Pretty bad. But when it happened, heat of the moment, you don't really,
Right.
you don't really register.
It's the part of that I still think one of the funniest of those I ever saw was when George Springer got hit, and he got hit square on the butt when he was he just leaned forward and hit him right. And I remember he just kind of looked like, if you're going to get hit anywhere, that's
well. I don't know if you grew up. I don't know if you grew up getting whoopings, but I did. And my my mom, bless her heart, she's no longer with us. She kind of knew that across the rear end, it'll get your attention, but it doesn't really hurt.
It's not gonna hurt.
So she had a tendency to get just a little bit low and catch like the top of the hamstrings. Now that is a more sensitive spot.
No, that's not a good spot.
And I will say that, you know what? Every time I got my butt whipped, I deserved it every single time. My brother was a year younger than me. We were partners in crime, and she used to wear one of my dad's belts around her neck, and more times than not, she had to use it.
My parents were not spankers in general.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this: I had a friend who lived not far from me, and his dad, what he used to do is rather than spank him or rather than give him a whooping or any of that, what he would do is if he was having a problem with him, he would just walk up behind him and he would just give him a slap on the lower back. Not hard, but just a good hey, son.
That was yeah.
Listen, the lower back is not a place anybody wants to get slapped. That stings. And he was like, okay, I get it. He's got his attention.
So when we were little guys, and I know we need to get out of here, but we were little guys. They used to get all kinds of compliments about how good my brother and I were at restaurants. And there was well, I mean, back then manners were quite different, but we would sit, and it was for 2 reasons. My mom was actually the athlete. Okay, even when I was born, she was still playing semi-pro fast pitch softball.
Oh wow!
So she had very strong hands, and so she would grab the inside of the thigh and kind of dig the nails in a little bit, just to let you know, okay, you're not doing what you're supposed to. And then my dad would reach over and pinch the other side of the arm.
Oh, wow. Then you're toast. Nobody's doing anything at that point.
And my dad was, so just nonchalant about it. And we knew start off with, it hurt. And the other part was, okay, we better straighten up or, there
God.
will be
There will
more
be
issues
blood.
once we get back home. Yeah.
Exactly. The one thing I'll remember, and
Oh,
then we
your
can
boys
go.
are so good sitting in the restaurant.
Right.
Yeah, don't look at the bruises underneath their arms.
I remember my mom saying one time, fortunately not to me, although I'm sure she probably would have said it to me, but it was a church, and she said it to a kid who was like rolling around on the ground. She grabbed him and said, "I will slap you to sleep." That was it. He sat there.
That's it.
That was the end of
Yeah,
it.
and I will honestly. It sounds like I had wonderful parents. They
Yeah, mine
supported us,
too.
but my dad was a farmer from Mississippi. My mom had 7 or 8 siblings. That was how you were brought up. And listen, they never whooped me when I didn't deserve it. They never pinched me when I didn't deserve it. It was just one of those situations that you were going to do what you were supposed to
He's
do.
such a polite boy. Little did they know.
Right.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We will be back next week with another fresh podcast. And I will see you guys at the game tonight if you happen to be there. It should be an interesting Friday night fireworks. I'm hoping for a victory. Frommer on the hill.
Big and bright Friday night. Hopefully it doesn't rain. It's raining here right now.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of raining here, but you know how Houston is? It could be pouring down on one side of town and bone dry on another. So
Oh, shit. You can do like the next block.
Exactly. So we'll just hope for the best. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you next time. Go Astros.
Adios.